For many years, the galaxy's strongest and most feared species, the Dracari, had been silently watching Earth from the shadows of space, thinking that the small blue planet full of emotional and unpredictable beings was too weak, too wild, and far too primitive to ever be a serious concern for their empire, which stretched across 1,000 star systems and had crushed every enemy with cold logic and unmatched strength. The Dracari believed that emotions were a flaw, that love and anger, hope and sorrow were distractions that made species weak, and because humans showed those things so openly, so freely, the Dracari Council had labeled them as nothing more than an unstable, self-harming species, too divided and too fragile to ever matter in the long term. But despite their arrogance, the Dracari did not ignore Earth completely. They placed secret observation satellites around the planet's orbit, hiding them behind dead moons and radiation clouds, quietly watching the humans go about their strange lives, fighting each other, loving each other, destroying their forests, launching rockets, singing, dancing, mourning, inventing machines, laughing, crying, and never staying still for even one generation. To the Dracari, it was both amusing and confusing, and over time, they began to collect hundreds of hours of footage, data, and behavior analysis, reports that all ended in the same conclusion. The human race is a chaotic anomaly that will destroy itself before reaching the stars. But then something changed. One day, deep inside the cold chambers of the Dracari intelligence core, an alarm echoed, low and slow, the kind of alarm that only rang when something had gone terribly wrong or terribly right. The human observation AI probe known as Unit 7 had stopped sending normal reports. Instead of statistics or video footage, it sent one short message, encrypted in an ancient galactic dialect rarely used anymore. Do not engage. They are not what they seem. At first, the High Council thought it was a glitch, just another one of the many malfunctions that had been happening recently near the edges of Terran space. But when they checked Unit 7's final memory logs, they found something that none of them could explain. Images of humans not fighting, not arguing, not panicking, but humans working together, building something massive beneath the ice of Antarctica. The satellite had caught a glimpse of large structures, smooth, dark metal with glowing lines, not like anything seen before on Earth, and standing around them were humans in strange suits, their faces hidden behind masks, their movements silent, precise, and fast. Before the probe could get closer, it self-destructed. The Dracari scientists said maybe Earth's weather destroyed it. The Dracari general said maybe humans found it and triggered a defensive kill switch. But one elder of the High Council, a wise but quiet being named Torin, said something no one wanted to hear. They saw us. They let us see just enough. And now, they're warning us. The council chamber went silent. It was impossible, of course. Earth was not supposed to have space detection abilities that advanced. Earth was not supposed to know they were being watched. But then, exactly 3 days later, the entire Dracari galactic network received a signal. It wasn't a military message. It wasn't a threat. It was a voice transmission from Earth, broadcast in hundreds of known alien languages, and its tone was calm, clear, and unsettling. We know you're there. You've watched long enough. Come closer, if you dare. The silence that followed was the loudest thing the Dracari had ever felt. Across star systems, debates broke out. Was it a bluff? Was it a joke? Was it even real? Some said it was just a trick by a rebellious Earth faction. Others believed it was the beginning of something darker. The High Council argued for 2 entire galactic days before making a decision. They would send a scout ship to Earth, not to invade, but to gather answers, proof, and confirmation of what humans were truly capable of. A small elite team of Dracari soldiers, trained in stealth and survival, was chosen. Their mission was clear: land unnoticed, investigate the strange structures under the ice, collect samples, and return. They were not to speak with humans. They were not to interfere, and under no condition were they to provoke or reveal the Drakari Empire's involvement. As the scout ship vanished into hyperspace toward Earth, the High Council watched the stars and waited. They had no idea what was waiting for them on that quiet blue world. And they didn't know that Earth was no longer what it used to be, because the humans had seen the Watchers. And now, for the first time in history, Earth had started watching back. The Drakari scout ship exited hyperspace on the far edge of Earth's solar system, its surface coated with stealth panels and energy-absorbing layers that made it invisible to nearly every kind of scan known in the galaxy. It moved like a shadow through the darkness, slow and quiet, designed to gather information and disappear before anyone even knew it had come. Inside the ship, 5 of the most experienced reconnaissance agents in the Drakari Empire stood in silence, each one reviewing their mission data again and again, their glowing eyes locked on the holographic displays that showed Earth rotating calmly beneath its thin atmosphere of blue and white. For a moment, it seemed like any other scouting mission. The humans appeared peaceful, unaware, distracted by their usual noise and activity. Cars moving in endless lines, bright cities glowing in the night, and communication signals bouncing around the planet like wild sparks. But none of the Drakari agents believed what they saw. Not after what the last probe had reported. Not after that strange transmission sent in perfect alien dialect. Something was different now. Earth was hiding something, and whatever it was, it had scared the machines enough to self-destruct. As the scout ship slowly slipped into Earth's shadow, its systems began to glitch. Just small things at first, a drop in sensor clarity, a delay in energy readings, then a complete blackout of thermal scans in the southern polar region. That part of the planet, the place where the last transmission came from, had gone completely dark. Not just hidden, dark, as if the heat, the motion, even the atmosphere itself had stopped existing there. The Drakari pilot adjusted the ship's orbit manually and brought it lower, closer, moving through the high clouds like a ghost while trying to make sense of what was happening. Then the ship shook. It was not an attack. No weapons were fired. No signals were intercepted. But something massive had passed beneath them. Something large enough to create gravitational ripples, like a mountain had moved underneath the ice. The Drakari agents looked at each other, confused, concerned, and more alert than ever. They prepared for landing, activating their personal cloaking fields and stepping into the icy winds of Antarctica under the cover of a quiet storm. The cold didn't affect them. Their suits were built for survival in space, in toxic worlds, even in stars. But still, something in the air felt wrong. The snow did not fall naturally. It seemed to move around them, as if pushed aside by invisible currents. The sky above flickered for half a second, and one of the agents swore he saw shapes, just shapes, moving in the clouds. But when he looked again, they were gone. They reached the area the probe had last scanned, and what they saw made their breath stop. There was no facility, no visible structure, no machines or vehicles. Just pure, undisturbed ice stretching across the land. But their scanners showed otherwise. Beneath the frozen surface, more than 200 meters deep, was a heat signature unlike anything in Drakari records. It pulsed slowly like a living heart, sending out brief surges of energy in precise patterns, almost like a language. The leader of the team, Agent Thorin, activated the ground penetrator, a device that would send a narrow beam through the ice and allow them to map what lay beneath. As soon as the device touched the ground, the ice cracked, not loudly, but with a sharp sound that echoed strangely in the open air. Before the team could react, the entire area around them shifted. It was subtle at first. The wind stopped. The snow stopped. Even their breathing felt muffled inside their suits. Then, from deep below, a single glowing line appeared. It rose through the ice like a thread of fire, drawing a perfect circle around the team. They moved back instantly, weapons drawn, communication silent but urgent. They had triggered something ancient, something not meant for them. The ice cracked again, louder this time, and the ground began to shake. The circle split open, revealing a stairway of black metal descending into the frozen earth. No machinery could be heard. No lights blinked. But the stairs were real, solid, and waiting. Soren hesitated only a second. Then, without a word, he stepped forward. One by one, the agents followed him down, their footsteps light, their weapons ready. They had trained for war, for disaster, for every kind of known threat. But as they went deeper, a strange feeling crept into their minds. A pressure, soft and constant, like someone was watching their thoughts, reading their fears. The staircase ended in a massive underground chamber filled with tall monoliths covered in symbols. They were not Drakari, nor any known alien language. But one of the agents froze when he saw a familiar shape among the lines, a human figure, drawn in exact proportion, standing proud, eyes open. And behind it, stars, galaxies, and burning ships. Then a voice echoed in the room. It was not loud, not angry, but it spoke directly into their minds. You were warned. You did not listen. Now you will see. And the chamber began to glow, not with light, with memory, with war, with every moment Earth had been preparing, not to survive, but to fight. And they had come too close, too late. And Earth was no longer defenseless. The chamber beneath the ice was glowing now, but not with lights that flickered or machines that hummed. Instead, it felt like every wall, every floor, and even the air itself had started to breathe with a soft, silent energy that was both beautiful and terrifying. And as the Drakari agents stood frozen in place, the symbols around them began to shift slowly, changing shape and forming images so ancient and powerful that even the most trained minds among them struggled to understand what they were truly seeing. A circular platform rose from the center of the chamber, smooth and black like liquid obsidian, and hovering just above it was a sphere no larger than a human head. Yet it pulsed with enough force to make every scanner in the Drakari suits go blank, their readings wiped clean as if the machines had forgotten how to function. And the agents realized, without needing to speak, that this was not a weapon made for war in the way the galaxy understood weapons, but something more, something far older. Soren, the leader, slowly stepped forward, his hand raised not in defense, but in curiosity and caution, because even though he had led dozens of missions into ancient ruins and lost worlds, nothing had ever responded like this before, not to touch, not to movement, and especially not to thought. But now, as he approached the sphere, a quiet voice once again filled their minds, not a command, not a warning, but a question spoken in a language each of them somehow understood, even though none of them had ever studied Earth's primitive dialects. Do you know why they fear you? The voice was not human, not Drakari, not robotic, but something in between, a cold and ancient intelligence that spoke not from the room, but from the memories that lived in the very stones around them. And as the words echoed softly, images poured into the minds of the agents, scenes from Earth's hidden history, battles fought in deep space where no record existed, ancient fleets made of bone and light, collapsing stars being used as traps, and warriors standing against empires with nothing but steel and willpower in their hands. The agents fell to their knees, not because they were hurt, but because their thoughts were being overwhelmed by a truth that defied everything they had believed about Earth, about its people, and about how much time they had left to prepare. Because Earth, it seemed, had not only known the galaxy would one day return to challenge it, but had spent generations secretly preparing for that day in silence, hiding their strength so well that even the most powerful empires laughed at their weakness. And then the final image came. A single human figure standing at the edge of a shattered world, wearing a suit that burned with energy the Drakari could not identify, staring into the void as alien armadas rushed toward him. And when they reached him, he did not run. He did not raise a weapon. He only raised one hand, and the entire fleet shattered into light without a sound. The image vanished, and the chamber went dark. The platform lowered back into the ground, and the agents, pale and shaken, stood in silence as they realized what they had witnessed was not fiction, not a prophecy, but a memory, one hidden from the rest of the galaxy, protected by ancient codes and layered encryption, so advanced even their most powerful AI couldn't break through it. And now that they had seen it, they knew they could not leave the planet with this knowledge without first facing a question that had no easy answer. Would their leaders believe them? And if they did, what would the Drakari do? Soren ordered immediate extraction, but the moment they stepped back onto the surface, their ship was gone, not destroyed, not broken, just gone, as if it had never been there at all. And far above them, in the clouds, a new signal was detected. It was human, encrypted with layers never before seen. And it was not a warning. It was an invitation. The message was simple. Now you see us. As the sky rumbled and lights shimmered faintly through the mist, the agents realized they had not discovered a weakness, but had been allowed to glimpse a secret, and with that knowledge came a terrifying responsibility. Because if Earth had hidden this power for so long, then there must be a reason they waited until now to reveal it. And whatever that reason was, it meant one thing above all. The galaxy had underestimated the humans. And that mistake was about to change everything. The wind howled across the icy plain as the Drakari agents stood in silence, staring into the thick mist that now covered everything around them like a blanket of secrets. And even though they had survived many dangerous missions before, none of them had ever felt the heavy weight of fear that now sat deep in their hearts. Not fear of death, but fear of something they could not fully understand. Something that did not follow the rules of power, science, or war, but something that watched them from the shadows and allowed them to live only because it chose to. Soren's communicator sparked back to life, but instead of the familiar voices of his command ship or his fellow Drakari officers, it played only static at first, followed by a calm human voice that was not angry or proud, but cold and clear, as if it had waited a long time to speak. And it said, "You are not the first to search for answers here, and you will not be the last. But understand this. You are allowed to see the truth not because you deserved it, but because we wanted you to carry a message." The voice stopped, and no matter how hard they tried, the agents could not trace its origin, could not respond to it, could not break through the interference, and they all realized that whatever system the humans were using to speak, it was far beyond anything the Drakari had seen before, and that meant Earth had been watching the stars, listening to galactic communication, and studying alien technology for far longer than anyone had guessed. When they tried to move again, the ground beneath them cracked, not because of an earthquake or a weapon, but because a hidden platform was rising from deep under the ice, smooth and glowing, shaped like the symbols they had seen in the underground chamber, and when it stopped, a small drone no bigger than a hand floated upward and hovered silently in front of them. It displayed a map, but it was not a map of Earth. It was a star map, showing systems across the galaxy, marked in red, yellow, and green, with red symbols next to certain alien empires, including the Drakari, the Zarkan, the Turn Confederation, and others that had once declared humans primitive and unworthy of council membership. And as the agents stared at the glowing lines, they saw something that made their blood run cold. Each red system had a timer next to it, and those timers were counting down. Soren spoke quietly, afraid to break the silence, and said, "These are targets." And as soon as he said the words, the drone spoke, not in human voice, but in an artificial tone, smooth and controlled, saying, "Phase 1 complete. Phase 2. Deployment begins in 48 hours. Galactic threat status. Recalculated." The agents panicked and began transmitting warnings to their fleet, but no message got through. Nothing left the atmosphere, nothing reached the orbit, and they realized they were not just being blocked. They were being studied, tested, allowed to panic, and everything they were doing now was being recorded by something far more intelligent than their best eye. Then a flash of light split the sky, and for a moment, a massive black ship appeared above the clouds, silent, not marked, its shape sharp like a blade, moving without sound and vanishing again before they could scan it. And in that brief second, every agent knew what it was. It was human. It had been watching them the whole time, and it had chosen now to reveal itself, just for a moment, not to attack, but to remind them that Earth was not helpless, not weak, and certainly not blind to what the galaxy had planned. Soren fell to his knees and whispered, "We were wrong, so very wrong." Meanwhile, far above them, in a secret human command center hidden on Earth's dark side, high-ranking officers watched the Drakari agents on their screens, discussing in calm voices how to respond next, and one of them, an old general with gray eyes, said, "Let them go. Let them carry fear back to their masters, because fear will spread faster than truth ever could." And the others agreed, because the humans had always known that the strongest weapon was not fire, not steel, not fleets, but the knowledge that your enemy never saw you coming, that your silence was not weakness but preparation, and now the time for silence was ending. Across Earth's surface, hidden bunkers opened, ships that had never been seen by alien eyes lifted into the sky, and signals reached out to allies in deep space, other species that had once lived in the shadows, but who now looked to Earth for leadership, for strength, for hope, because humans had not only survived what the galaxy threw at them, they had become something more. And as the countdown continued, and the stars above burned cold and distant, the galaxy remained unaware that the war they thought they controlled was already over, and that Earth had won before the first shot was even fired. The message spread like wildfire across the galaxy, faster than light, carried by whispers, intercepted transmissions, and frightened agents who had barely escaped the surface of Earth. And while many alien leaders still laughed and dismissed the warnings as human tricks or primitive fear tactics, others, especially those who had seen the classified images or read the decoded signals, started to realize that something deep had shifted, something permanent, something terrifying. In the vast marble halls of the Zarkan Empire, high above the clouds of their capital world, an emergency council gathered, not because of a direct threat or an invasion, but because the Drakari agents had returned with eyes wide from fear, shaking hands, and a broken sense of superiority. And when they spoke about what they had seen, the underground chambers, the hidden fleet, the mysterious countdown, no one in the room had words, only silence, because the agents were not known for lies or cowardice. In another system, far across the spiral arm, the Turn Confederation summoned their best scientists to explain the impossible changes in galactic signal traffic because human communication had suddenly vanished from their systems, encrypted beyond breaking, silent, and unreachable, not out of weakness, but like a predator going quiet before the strike. And the scientists, though proud of their knowledge, had no answers, only guesses that were more terrifying than truth. The countdown continued. Back on Earth, far below the surface, in the largest military chamber ever built by humans, surrounded by machines that could move satellites and blind starships, the old general from before stood before a massive display showing the galaxy, color-coded zones, marked threats, and blinking red stars, and he turned to the commanders behind him, speaking not in fear, but with calm authority, and said, "They thought our silence meant we had nothing. But now they will learn that silence was our shield." Dozens of warships rose from deep launch silos, not like the clumsy, massive cruisers used by most alien empires, but sharp, black ships with invisible hulls, gravity-bending engines, and AI pilots that had been trained not just to destroy but to adapt, learn, and evolve in the middle of battle. And each of these ships carried weapons that no alien scientist had ever seen, because humanity never shared its true breakthroughs with the galaxy, only the ones it wanted others to copy. As these ships disappeared into space, each on its own secret mission, the stars above Earth shimmered slightly, as if reacting to the sudden force now moving among them. And one by one, secret human listening posts deep within alien space came online, transmitting encoded messages to Earth, confirming that the plan was working. Fear had taken root, and it was growing fast, changing everything faster than any fleet ever could. On one small alien moon, a young Zarkan officer looked up at the stars and whispered a question no one around him could answer. If humans were always this strong, why did they wait so long to show it? And the truth, the real truth, was that humans had learned something that no other empire had understood. That in a galaxy full of pride, noise, and endless wars, the one who watches quietly, the one who builds in secret, and the one who lets others believe they are weak, becomes the one that controls the final moment. Now, with Earth's fleet spreading like silent shadows across enemy borders, with their allies hidden among species once ignored, and with the countdown reaching zero, the galaxy would face not an invasion, not an open war, but a sudden, cold shift in power, where battles ended before they began, where entire fleets shut down without firing a shot, and where alien leaders found themselves surrounded not by guns, but by truth they had never prepared for. Because the humans had never been weak. They had only been waiting. And now, their time had come.